We are loved beyond measure. At some point, you just have to trust her. She loves you more than you will ever know. She wants us to love one another.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Priestess at the Altar. Happy Sunday morning to you. It's very hot here in the Midwest. I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. Some people like the heat. Your priestess is not one of those people. And as such, so those vestment stoles that I have that I am so proud of, my green and gold with Inanna's dove, they're also very hot. So today you just get the clergy badge. So let's start in our usual manner and take 3 cleansing deep breaths together. Get ourselves a little centered. And I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. You've done this with me a million times. Ready? Let's do that again. Let's do that one more time. It is our love and our passion, our faith that brings us here, where we can spend just a little time to commune, to be still, to feel the life force of human connection, which also connects us to her. Just imagine for a moment a silver thread connecting all of us watching this video right now, and anyone who might watch it later today, or later this week, later this month, or later this year, at different times, in different places, all over the world. For we have been drawn together by the light and the peace and the love of the goddess. Together, we all say, Amen Dea. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time out of your Sunday morning to be with me this morning. And so before I get started, I want to say that after today, I will be off for the whole month of August. And so I won't be posting Priestess at the Altar for the entire month of August, so that I can record a bunch of Priestess at the Altar episodes to share with you. Also, to get ready to launch the Church of the Goddess website, which I'm super excited about. And the Church of the Goddess website will have all kinds of information about the church, about if you're interested in being a member of the church, what that entails, about this religion, sort of, that we've created and called it Shiism, that doesn't have any rules, or it's got a little bit of doctrine and dogma, but anyway, it's more of an informational website at this point than anything else, and hopefully it will be a community building project. So we're excited about that, and I look forward to kind of unveiling that to you and with you, and hopefully you will be the ones that join and help it grow and expand and become the church that I know it can be, starting with priestess at the altar, and then we kind of grow from there, because it's not my church, it's our church. Yeah, so I'm going on and on about that or give too much away, but and I will be beginning on August 5th, dropping episodes of the Girlfriend God podcast, season 3. So I'm also pretty excited about that. I feel it's in the podcast or not, but that's like my main gig. So yeah, and all of that, of course, under the banner of the Girlfriend God, which is the YouTube channel that you're watching right now. So okay, so that's my little announcement, house cleaning section of the day. So today's message comes to us from what, as far as the research that I've done revealed, I believe that this story originated as a Hindu legend. And so you might recognize it. There have been several different versions, as is the case with folklore, right? There have been several different versions of this story in different cultures over many years. So as usual, I've adapted it to fit our goddess theology. So here we go. One day, long ago, a long time ago, in a place far, far. Now it's not a place far, far away. It's here. When humans were new to the earth, there was a council of goddesses who made decisions about human affairs, and they were having this meeting in a grand hall somewhere. Let's say Turkey or Syria or Siberia. One of the places that we know many of our goddess cultures began or started to thrive in human history. They were trying to decide where they should put a human's divinity. Because, as we've talked about here many times, the divine spark, that is the part of us, our essential selves, that is connected to her, right? Goddess is both within and without. And at our core, who we are is pure, uncorruptible, unneeding to prove ourselves, unfiltered. Our essential selves is joy, loved, connected. That part, that is where our divinity lives. That part of us that is of her. So they were trying to decide where to put that. So while they were trying to decide where they should put our divinity, our connection to source, to the great mother, to the primordial creatrix of everything, for they knew we needed to know that we belonged to her, that we were one with her. Otherwise, our whole existence would seem meaningless. Still, the goddesses thought our divinity should be something that we get the joy of discovering on our own. So they had to put it somewhere it was hard to find. I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly. Pronunciation is the thing with me. Arinyani, the Hindu goddess, said, why don't we hide it in the forest or in one of my forest creatures? But after some discussion, they realized that not every place has forests, nor does every human, sadly, have the desire to wander in the woodland. Next, Amphitrite, the Greek goddess, why don't we hide it in the sea? Another goddess replied, sadly, not all of them will be able to swim to find it. I don't know who Amphitrite is. That was a Greek goddess I had never heard of, but there you have it. Then Terra, the Roman goddess, said, why don't we bury it in the earth? And another goddess replied, some humans will invent big machinery that digs up the earth and could displace it or destroy it. Then Nut, the Egyptian goddess, said, why not hide it in the sky? To which all the other goddesses replied in unison, how are they supposed to get there? Just then, the great goddess, the primeval goddess that came before all the other goddesses, and Nana, entered the room. Everyone fell silent. After a few moments, Inanna, who rarely made an appearance at these council meetings, who in fact rarely made an appearance anywhere, spoke to them. My daughters, I'm glad to see that you are taking great care with these children of the earth to make sure that they know that they are one with me and that they have an essential self, a soul that is perfect in every way. They will spend their whole lives feeling the pull of their desire for this knowledge. Some will come to embrace their quest quickly, others slowly, but eventually they all will come home to me, to themselves. So I have heard all the difficulties you are facing, so I have a solution for you. Why don't you hide it in the last place they will think to look? Where is that? They all asked. Inside themselves, she replied. Place their divinity inside their own hearts. Over the course of their lives, humans will discover that often searching their own hearts, often searching their own hearts is the only place they can really find the answers they seek. So this, you probably saw where I was going halfway through. And like I said, maybe you've heard other versions of that story. There's always some variation of gods and or goddesses and or characters in a fable, deciding where to hide love or divinity or soul or essence or magic or what have you. And there's always the suggestion of usually the elements, right? The land, the earth, the sea, the sky. And then someone suggests that they hide it inside of us. The thing I said was, I don't know what the last thing I said was. So there's some derivative of this, right? So this, it reminds me, I was thinking about that famous Doreen Valiente poem, The Charge of the Goddess, right? Where she talks about I am that which is attained at the end of desire. And the few lines of poetry before that, where she talks about, if you seek it without, you will never, basically, you will seek it without, you will never find it because it's within. And that is the human condition, isn't it? And what's always baffling to me about this is that we know this, right? We know. And yet, we continue to look outside of ourselves. We know it to our core. We know it while we're doing it. So, what is the pull to look to something outside of ourselves to fill whatever the feeling of that gaping hole is? A long time ago, I don't remember what, so I've studied a lot of different religions and spiritual traditions over the course of my life, as most spiritual seekers do, until you can, figure out what works for you, right? So we take what we need and leave the rest, and then, decades go by and we've kind of either we found something that really works for us and we adopt it and become a part of whatever that religion is or movement or philosophy or whatever, or we do what I've done, which is kind of create my own thing out of the pieces, right? Which then became, well, actually, it's not my own thing, right? Goddess monotheism is not my own thing. It's a thing that is as old as time. But anyway, I'm digressing. So at one point, I read that there was a theory that we do that because we have a false belief that we made a conscious decision to separate ourselves from God. So we feel guilty, and that is where our existential pain comes from. So we spend our lives trying to make up for separating ourselves and trying to reconnect. But the fallacy of that is that, of course, we cannot separate ourselves, right? There is no disconnection. Even when we try and hide from the goddess, we don't disconnect from her. We may shut ourselves off from what it feels like to be connected to her, which we often do. But there is no disconnection. Disconnection is a myth. So what is the point of this spiritual seeking? Well, I think if I knew the answer to that, I would be a very wealthy woman. And, I don't want to give you pithy, it's about the journey and not the destination, but I think that kind of is the point, right? Like, why else what would give us meaning if we didn't have the search? You know what I mean? Because here we are having this human experience. And I think the seeking is just part of the human experience package, right? I mean, if you like your analogies, and you're one of those people that views this whole deal as a matrix or a video game, or everything is like we chose all these things. A lot of people that believe in past lives believe this, right? Like we made all these decisions about it. This is the experience I want to have. These are the parents I want to have. These are the challenges I want to overcome. These are the, maybe the default, right? The choice that we don't make when we're, creating our avatar and choosing all these different things. The thing that everybody gets is I feel empty inside and therefore I must spiritually seek. That's not an option. That's default, right? Like we all have that. And why? I don't know, because it makes life interesting. And in it, and because it's our default, and because we all have it, it's one of the biggest ways that you and I find each other and come together in community. Sometimes it's not healthy, right? Like sometimes we hook up in wrong relationships that way. Not wrong relationships, because everything is a lesson, and as long as you can find the lesson, then nothing is wasted, right? But you know what I mean? Like when one emotional cripple meets another emotional cripple, two emotionally crippled people do not make a whole person. But if I meet you and you meet me in a coffee shop and I say, I'm a follower of the goddess, and you say, oh, I'm a follower of the goddess too, and we get together and talk about the emptiness that we sometimes feel when we feel disconnected, when we're a little bit off, then we have come together in our seeking, right? And then we find two other people who feel the same way, and two other people, and that's how spiritualities are born, right? So maybe that's the purpose. The truth is, I don't know. But in spirituality and in this seeking, which I think the seeking is her design. I don't know. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that because I do know. Here's the thing. Here's what I know to be true for me. And if it's true for me, it must be true for some other people. Perhaps it will be true for you. Perhaps it won't. Who is to say? I am not the goddess, so I cannot reach your future. Some astrologer or medium or psychic may be able to tell you. I do not have those goddess given skills, so I don't know. But what is true for me in my seeking is purposeful, because the more I seek, the more I know the truth of my connection to my goddess. And what that brings me at the end of the day is one step closer to a joyful life, which is why we're here. We are not here, I believe, we are not here to fix something that's broken. We are here for the experience of the life that we're living. And she wants us to enjoy the life that we're living. So if my seeking is desperate, it doesn't feel good. But if I can find joy in those moments where in my seeking I remember, oh, that's right, I am connected. I am of her. I am hers. I love feeling like I belong to the goddess. And I can only feel that way as a result of the seeking, right? So the point, I don't think, that the search isn't the point. It's the feelings that are the result of the search that are the point. Does that make sense? But you have to stick with it to find the joy, right? You can't just try spirituality on for a year and then, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could. That has not been my experience. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place today, so I apologize for that. But these are big, big, big topics, right? Because I think what we really want, or at least what I really want, is to be loved unconditionally. And people and circumstances and other humans we're just not capable of that. People talk about unconditional love, but I'm sorry, that is not something that humans are capable of. We are capable of love, deep love, committed love, devotion, but unconditional, I don't think we're capable of that. I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you are. I am not there yet. I think that when we say we are unconditional, I think that we do our best, that is an ideal to strive for, and that is a noble cause. But I just think that is not in our DNA. If we could love each other unconditionally, we wouldn't always be looking for unconditional love, which I think can only come from her. So, the challenge then is, if I know that my divinity is within, what are the means by which I go within? You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. Prayer, meditation, communion with nature, stillness, quiet, professional services, that therapy if you need it. I recommend therapy, even if you think you don't need it, because it's really nice to just talk about yourself for an hour. Because that's the other thing, right? Not only do I think all humans are really not capable of unconditional love, if we're honest, all human beings are selfishly focused. We cannot help it. It doesn't make us bad or wrong or broken. We cannot help but see the world through the eyes of self, because that's where we are. And it's where we look, and it's where we see. And we try to be less selfish. I think that's another kind of long-standing part of the journey, right? That's why we try and give of ourselves and be of service to others, because we don't like how it feels to be selfish. So that's another admirable, right? It can never be totally unselfish, right? There's no such thing as a totally unselfish act, because even when you help somebody else, it feels good, right? So you're still getting something out of that transaction. So not that and don't misunderstand, I'm not like beating up on you, just as I don't beat up on myself for those things. These are just basic facts. I'm just truth telling, because part of what we do here, I always talk about we, but really there's no we, there's just me. I mean, you know that. Priestess at the altar, Church of the Goddess, well, maybe not Church of the Goddess, but the Girlfriend God, the podcast, all that is a one-woman show. But I do try and be authentic and keep it real. So to me, those things are being very real, right? We can never totally be unselfish, and we can never totally love unconditionally. Those are just facts. But we try. And in the trying is part of the seeking. And in the seeking it comes back to self. Now, in that way, I do not consider that selfish, because when we seek our divinity includes our connection to all. Because when we are one with her, we are one with everyone. Right? Because we are a part of a greater whole. So that too is part of the seeking. It's not just about seeking her. It's about remembering that we really are all one, which certainly makes it easier to love others, ourselves. And the more we are connected to our own divinity, the more we are connected to her. And that is the feedback loop, that the more we can bring our conscious awareness to that, I think the better off we are. I know for me, the more aware I am of that, more of the time, I am happier. I am more at peace. I am less bothered by people, circumstances, things not going my way, minor irritants. You know what I mean? Like overall, it's just a better picture. Why would I not do it? The only reason we ever choose to not do what feels good is because we're in a moment of not liking ourselves for something. So maybe just do that less. Because you are all beautiful people, and you are worthy and deserving, and you are loved by the power that creates worlds. So put that in your pipe and smoke it this Sunday. Okay. Goddess lovers, have a fabulous Sunday. I will see you in September. And until then, may the peace and the love of the goddess be with you.
The girl